The fluorescent light felt too bright. Number B42. I was holding a small, crumpled piece of paper, sitting in a row of bolted-down plastic chairs. The DMV on a Tuesday morning. A woman 2 seats down was tapping her foot, sighing heavily because she had been waiting for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. I stared at the linoleum floor. The air was heavy in here, stale, full of people frustrated by the smallest inconveniences. I just sat there, quiet, breathing shallow. The chair pressed into my back and my shoulders tightened. Muscle memory. You never really stop scanning the room, do you? Even when the only threat is a bored clerk calling numbers. You come back and they expect you to just slide right back into this. The lines, the forms, the small talk. They expect you to put the uniform away and suddenly care about expired tags and property taxes. To care that the coffee has gone cold or the line is moving too slow. You sit in these plastic chairs, holding a number, and you realize the people around you are worried about their lunch break. They are worried about the rain, and you are just trying to breathe without feeling like you are stealing air from the guys who didn't come back. But you don't fit anymore. The uniform came off, sure, but something stayed on. It clung to the skin. You walk through these ordinary places, and you feel entirely displaced, like a ghost haunting your own life, watching other people live theirs. Number B38, 4 more to go. I shifted my weight. The fabric of my jacket scratched my neck. I closed my eyes for just a second, trying to block out the low hum of complaints around me. But when you close your eyes, that's when the silence you carry gets loud. That's when the room falls away and you are back there. It's never a choice, it just waits its turn. It sits quietly in the back of your mind until you let your guard down in a place as stupid as a waiting room. It was a Tuesday then, too. Funny how the mind holds on to useless details like the day of the week, but forgets whole years of the aftermath. Not a DMV, just a valley that didn't have a name we cared to learn. We were moving slow, the kind of slow that makes your jaw set until your teeth ache. There was no noise, not like here. The silence out there felt thick, unnatural. It pressed against my chest. We had been walking for hours, and the math just wasn't balancing. Too quiet, too still. You learn to hate the quiet. You learn that when nothing moves. The room is waiting for you to make a mistake. We were supposed to just pass through. A simple rotation. But nothing is simple when you are carrying that kind of weight. We were 12 men. 12 kids, really, pretending we understood the world because we knew how to take apart a rifle blindfolded. We carried so much gear, but the real weight was the unspoken understanding that any of us could be gone in the next breath. I remember looking at Miller. He was on point. He gave a nod. Just a slight dip of his helmet. No words needed. We understood. The perimeter was ours, but the ground didn't feel right. The body remembers before the mind catches up. My hands were shaking, just a fraction. I locked them tight around the grip. I should have called a halt. I should have trusted the pressure in the air. That's the guilt of it, isn't it? The math that never balances. You survive when others didn't, and you spend the rest of your life replaying the seconds where you could have changed it. Then the air shifted. It's a physical thing. You don't hear it first, you feel it in your teeth. Number B39. The voice over the intercom in the DMV dragged me back for a split second. The woman next to me huffed and gathered her purse. But I was already gone again. I was back in the dirt, back in the valley. The first crack wasn't loud. It was sharp, like a dry branch snapping right next to your ear. And then the world tore open. We hit the ground. Hard. The dust choked everything. I couldn't see Miller. I couldn't see anything. Just the deafening roar of a mistake we couldn't take back. We were pinned, caught in a crossfire that we walked right into because we thought the silence meant we were safe. We were at the bottom of a bowl, and they were on the rim. It was the kind of geometry that doesn't leave survivors. You do the math in your head while your face is pressed into the gravel, and you realize you aren't going home. I yelled for Miller. Nothing. I yelled for anyone. Just the noise answering back. We were entirely cut off. The radio was dead. My squad was scattered behind whatever rocks they could find, and the rocks weren't big enough. Every time someone tried to move, the dirt around them exploded. We were pinned down, bleeding out time we didn't have. I remember the exact moment I accepted it. The exact moment I stopped trying to figure a way out and just learned to hold my breath. It was over. We didn't make it back. That was the reality I swallowed right there in the dirt. The unanswered prayers. The letters we wouldn't write. The lives we wouldn't finish. I pressed my face into the earth and waited for the dark. And then, through the smoke and the chaos, the gunfire from the ridge suddenly changed direction. The gunfire didn't stop, it just changed its target. It shifted away from our shallow holes in the dirt and turned toward the ridge. One by one, the muzzles that had been chewing us apart went quiet. It was a different kind of sound. Precise, methodical, like a clock ticking in a room where everyone else is screaming. And then I saw him. He didn't look like an angel, not the kind you see in the books anyway. He was covered in the same gray dust that was choking the rest of us. His uniform was torn, his gear was battered, and he moved with a stillness that didn't belong in a place where the world was ending. He appeared on the flank, rising out of the haze like he had been part of the earth itself, waiting for the right moment to breathe. He was a ghost in the smoke. I watched him move through the crossfire. He wasn't running, he wasn't shouting. He was just walking, his rifle tucked tight against his shoulder, clearing the path we couldn't even see. Every time he stopped, the air seemed to settle around him. Every shot he took was a period at the end of a sentence. He was taking the weight off us. He was drawing the fire, pulling the teeth of the ambush, and he was doing it alone. I remember Miller finally finding his voice, shouting something about where the hell this guy came from. But I couldn't answer. I couldn't move. I just watched this single man dismantle the mountain. It wasn't heroic. It was something deeper, something colder. It was a man who had decided that he was the barrier between us and the dark. He wasn't fighting for a flag in that moment. He wasn't fighting for a cause. He was just standing watch over 12 kids who were about to disappear. The ridge went silent. Completely. The dust began to settle, drifting down like snow over the valley. The ringing in my ears was the only thing left. I crawled toward Miller, my hands scraping against the dry ground, my chest heaving with air that tasted like copper and old smoke. We were alive. The math had shifted. The numbers didn't add up to 0 anymore. I looked back toward the flank where he had been. The space was empty. Just the shimmering heat and the stillness. B-42. The voice at the DMV was louder this time, sharper. I blinked and the valley vanished. The gray dust was gone, replaced by the sterile white light of the government office. The woman who had been tapping her foot was gone. A man in a suit was looking at his watch, annoyed. I was still holding that small crumpled piece of paper. My knuckles were white. I stood up. My legs felt heavy, out of place. I walked toward the counter, every step feeling like I was wading through deep water. The clerk didn't look up. She was focused on a computer screen, her fingers clicking away at a keyboard. "Name?" she asked. Her voice was flat, uninterested. I tried to speak, but the silence of the valley was still sitting in my throat. I had to clear it twice before the words would come out. I gave her my name. I gave her the forms. I did the dance. I watched her stamp the papers, oblivious to the fact that the man standing in front of her had died in a valley 10 years ago and was only here because a stranger decided to walk into the fire. You spend a lot of time wondering why. That's the burden of it. You walk through the grocery store. You sit in the DMV. You stand in your kitchen late at night when the house is too quiet, and you ask the walls why you got to keep your breath when he didn't. Because he didn't come home. We found him later that day, after the extraction birds had finally cleared the ridge. He was sitting against a rock, his rifle still in his lap. He looked like he was just taking a break, just catching his breath after a long hike, but the light was gone. He had given every bit of himself to make sure we could have these boring Tuesday mornings. He had traded his future for our mundane, frustrating, ordinary lives. He was a kid from a town I couldn't find on a map, someone's son, someone's brother. He wasn't supposed to be on that ridge. His unit was miles away. He had heard the contact on the radio and just started walking toward the noise. He didn't ask for permission. He didn't wait for orders. He just saw that the perimeter was failing, and he stepped into the gap. I think about his face every time I feel the weight of the silence. I think about the way the air felt when he appeared. It's a debt you can never repay. You can't say thank you to a ghost. You can't explain to the people in the DMV that you are only standing there because a man you never knew decided you were worth dying for. So you just carry it. You learn to hold it. You learn to live around the hole it leaves in your chest. You try to be a good man, or at least a man who doesn't waste the time he was given. You try to honor the silence. I walked out of the building and into the parking lot. The sun felt too bright on my face. The air shifted just a little, a cool breeze cutting through the humidity. I stood by my car for a long minute, just breathing. I looked at the people driving by, hurried and stressed, caught up in the tiny gears of their lives. I didn't feel angry at them anymore. I just felt tired. The uniform is gone, the valley is thousands of miles away, but I am still scanning the ridge. I am still waiting for the air to shift. I am still looking for the man who saved us, even though I know he's not coming. Maybe that's what survival is. It's not about getting over it. It's not about finding a way to fix what was broken. It's just about staying present. It's about being here, even when it's hard because someone else gave up their chance to be here for you. I started the car. The engine hummed, a low, steady vibration that felt grounded, real. I put it in gear and pulled out into the traffic, joining the flow of people going nowhere in particular. I leaned my head back against the seat and let out a breath I had been holding since that Tuesday in the valley. It's enough for now. Just to be here, to breathe, to remember the man who walked into the smoke so I didn't have to. We are still standing watch, even if no one else sees us, even if the silence is the only thing that answers back. We remember. We hold the line in the quiet moments between the words. Honor the next story. Stand watch with us. Type respect for those who never made it back.